What's the most pain you have ever experienced? Had spine surgery in November and the first week of recovery was unreal. I couldn't hold a position for more than 5 minutes, and every time I moved even a tiny bit, pain would shoot up my leg into my back in pulses. This would paralyze me and force me to scream. It would take me 10 minutes just to get into bed because lifting my leg up would cause these spasms. I couldn't walk at all, and it was impossible to get up on my own. I felt like I got hit by a truck. The oxy didn't do anything, and my poor mom couldn't help much. It was seriously traumatizing. This was way worse than when my appendix burst. I had a house cat break into my house fighting my cat. I got in the middle of them stupidly, and the house cat just went wild on me. It did not stop. My arm and hands were scratched all over. There was blood everywhere. At one point I managed to grab the cat and throw it outside. In a split second it turned around on the spot and latched onto my arm, biting down into it, hanging off it. X200B. The next few days were agony. I couldn't even turn off the light switch, it hurt that badly. Had to get the wounds treated. Only one of them was deep, the rest were all surface, but it hurt like hell. Gout. Rated one of the worst pains you can feel. It's a buildup of uric acid and white blood cells in the joint, commonly the big toe. The knuckle of my big toe swells to twice the size when it flares up. It's constant pain for 2-3 days at a time. I can't put on socks or shoes, even the slightest touch puts it in agonizing pain. And I mean slightest. Put a blanket over it, pain. Slightly move my leg, pain. The pain is so bad when it reaches its peak. In order to walk I have to hop with my other leg and use my heel, and a wall or piece of furniture to balance as I hop. Kidney stones. I've had them several times, but the last time I had a big one that had to get blasted. I had passed most of it, but the last bit came as 2 big chunks that for some reason decided to come out at the same time. Like 2 people squeezing through a small door and getting stuck. When I went back to bed after that, my wife asks, "Why are you shaking?" After that experience I have an emotional support water bottle that whenever I drink from it I tap a button on my watch to log that I've drank some, in order to gamify drinking water, because I can do that again. I had a spinal cord stimulator implant in 1/10/2023. 4 incision and laminectomy at T8. Post-op pain at the site was absolutely brutal. Getting up and down from sitting, in, and out of bed were initially almost impossible without my wife's help. Painkillers and muscle relaxers barely scratched the surface, and ice was my best friend. 6-8 weeks before I could fully return to work. The upside is that I'm receiving 80-90 relief from the pain I was being treated for previously. Would I do it again? Our expert panel of judges is still out on that, nearly a year later. Permanent double toenail removal. The numbing needles they give you don't last as long as they really need to. I've only ever screamed once, and this was why: screaming, crying in pain for hours because it was a relentless, ceaseless pain. I passed out from exhaustion by 4 a.m. I woke up at 2 p.m. and sore, but not nearly as sore as the night before. I don't know if my body got used to that pain or what, but I don't wish it on anyone. Childbirth was less painful. To give reference, back in October of this last year I got some kind of back spasm or something that just kicked in out of nowhere after a workout. Not sure if it was something I did or what, but I knew something was off on the drive home as it got worse, and by the time I got home I was in horrible pain. Couldn't be comfortable in any way, not sitting or laying down or even trying to walk around. It was bad. It was bad enough that I think it only cleared from a bunch of medication, and I literally just passed out after this was going on for several hours. Physical, when the neural inhibitor or whatever it was wore off after the surgery that put my genuinely shattered ankle back together. It's the first ever break in surgery I've ever had, not including a surgery I had as a newborn. I am extremely stoic when it comes to pain, to the point it actually concerns people. But my parents and siblings, as I moved back in for a month to recuperate, heard me yelling out from the other end of the house. In hindsight I didn't take the oxy soon enough. Toss up between the pain of having a dislocated jaw but not knowing it, or the pain of a shattered shoulder socket. Abysmal pain waiting for treatment and shoulder replacement surgery. It was life-changing. I notice I still open my car door with my right hand. A close runner-up are the first 3 days and endless nights after a total knee replacement. The traumatized femur tibia are not happy at all. I'm 45 but have several autoimmune inflammatory conditions that affect my joints. Permanent double toenail removal. The numbing needles they give you don't last as long as they really need to. I've only ever screamed once, and this was why: screaming, crying in pain for hours because it was a relentless, ceaseless pain. I passed out from exhaustion by 4 a.m. I woke up at 2 p.m. and sore, but not nearly as sore as the night before. I don't know if my body got used to that pain or what, but I don't wish it on anyone. Childbirth was less painful. To give reference, I plugged my nose and my mouth closed when I sneezed, and backed up the pressure. I cracked my left frontal plate, the bone in front of the sinus cavity, down to the upper mandible, which cracked 3 teeth, blew numerous vessels behind my left eye, and the entire left side of my face went completely numb. Exactly how it feels when you get numbed at the dentist. All of that. And the pressure in my sinuses would not drain. I genuinely thought my face was going to explode. It was an unknown jellyfish sting on my neck. I have a picture here. I was trying to look sexy in front of some dude, rolled in the water and hit something with my neck, exploded it on the sea floor. First, it felt like a giant claw had grabbed my neck. Then I saw those bits of acid jelly falling from my hair and burning my body, and I yelled so much then I got really dizzy and had to go to the doctor. I've got a bad ankle that I need to get surgically repaired. Every once in a while it will roll over when I step on uneven ground. My ankle dislocates and stays that way as I fall to the ground. After I'm on the ground I have to straighten my foot out to pop my ankle back into joint. When this happens, my ankle will be out of joint for only a few seconds, but it's excruciatingly painful and it puts me into a crazy panic, and then suddenly it's over. Infected C-section after the wound vac failed speed all the way across. I could feel myself dying. 4-day coma. 4-week hospital stay. Hurt so bad I couldn't get up to go to the bathroom, so I'd hold it for hours. The smell was horrendous and smelled exactly like decay. I went to OB, but she told me it was my fault and she might send antibiotics if she felt like I needed them. Can confirm that stitches to keep your upper and lower half connected suck. Ate a bunch of sunflower seeds, shell and seed. I didn't digest the shells and basically had to shit out a log of slivers. Went to the hospital. Doctor looked at my butthole, saw the blood and said that looks like it hurts. Gave me a prescription for a suppository to numb my butt and sent me on my way. Took a few hours to get it all out, and that's the only time I ever stuck my finger in my butt. I was pulling some out because the pain was too much. For almost an entire year, I had debilitating migraines. No medication could touch it or make it go away. I'd be in my bedroom feeling like my brain was melting. Went to the hospital for it at one point and it was the worst experience of my life. They gave me Benadryl and some type of steroid. It made me want to crawl out of my skin. Took forever to get cleared to go home after that. Ended up going to the eye doctor and never had migraines again. I've had 3 spine surgeries. The second one I had to have L4 cut at an angle to keep me upright. Along with removal of existing hardware, adding 8 screws and 3 rods. It hurt so much, brought me to tears twice. I could not get out of bed in less than 5 minutes. The intended pain lasted about 5 days after I got home. I have no pain now even after a 3rd surgery where 2 screws were bending. And further screws and rods were added. No fun at all. Old wrestling injury made it where my left leg bone right under the knee, side 1, the outer one that makes it sorta long chicken wing shape. If I move wrong it can pop out of place and the bone just grinds into stuff it's not supposed to. Drunk one night, slipped on a beer can, popped out. Took me about 30 minutes to gather the strength and grit to rotate my leg straight to pop it back in. Couldn't walk right for weeks after. I had a staph infection in my left elbow and my bursa sac. It had to be drained. I was given oral and 4 pain meds that didn't seem to even touch the pain. I swear it felt like they were using a drinking straw. 2 days later the infection spread up my arm. I was admitted to the hospital and stayed 6 days on liquid antibiotics. Thankfully the infectious disease doctor was well educated. My elbow has never been the same. Sinus infection in an airplane. The pressure felt like my head was going to explode for about 20 minutes. That shit was unbearable. Also I got sun poisoning from the wicked sunburn in Hawaii. Whole front of my body was extremely red. I couldn't sleep for days, every movement was torture, and the nausea and vomiting had me running to the bathroom all night. The tan lines that resulted lasted for about 4 years. Not sure what it was. After standing on my feet all day at work, sometimes I'd come home and after sitting for a bit standing up would rack me with pain. I'm talking shivering and unable to talk, I hurt so bad. It was awful. The few times my ex or family saw it, though I was having a seizure, I was shaking so bad. Since I've lost around 30 pounds and have been much more active. Hasn't happened in over a year. One time I was harvesting sweet potato on the sand floor. I put my hands into the sand but one of them met the potato very close to the surface and one nail got stuck on it, but my hand kept going. When I pulled my hand out of the sand, the nail was on a 90-degree angle starting from the base. I could feel my senses diminishing and me starting to faint for like 10-15 minutes, and the throbbing lasted a day. Childbirth. I remember staring at the window and thinking I'd jump out to make the pain stop. Several years ago I had an impacted kidney stone. The nurse said I've heard it hurts worse than labor. The kidney stone was a cakewalk compared to giving birth. I've never come so close to the edge of losing my mind as I did while screaming during childbirth. It was hell. Have a nice case of PTSD from it too. When I was 21, got into an accident resulting in tire rubber burning melting into my right arm. The ER doc covered it in iodine, warned me this was going to hurt, then proceeded to scrub as hard as he could with a hard bristled brush. Just imaging that, on a fresh burn. I honestly don't know how I didn't pass out. 26 years later, still have a patch of rubber inside my arm. I have no feeling in that spot. Infection. I bite my fingers a lot due to severe anxiety and or lack of stimulation due to my neurodivergence. But because I bite my fingers, there's a chance for them to be exposed to some bacteria and get infected. I had a really bad infection in my thumb, like, my entire thumb felt burning if you touched it bad. My mom had to squeeze out some of the pus and I genuinely was screaming. Worst pain ever.